Yeah.
They're not just by.
Yes.
And then others. You grab.
Yeah.
Yeah, so good.
I know.
Yeah.
Devin asked her to go on and make sure it's ringing.
I used to go lecture.
I know.
Yeah, I gotta go, but yeah, thanks. I'll see you this afternoon. Thanks, Mark. Bye.
Did you get it advantage for the rest of your life?
It's me. So, Tracy wanted to go and check and make sure the streaming is working, and make sure that you can, and you can hear it. Okay, yeah, okay. Awesome.
Moratorium.
Yes, and she can hear it.
You know, I don't afraid of it to be a winner.
Oh, wait. Oh, I might have gotten it. Oh, hang on.
No, Tracy.
Yes.
Oh, maybe now. Okay, got it.
Never mind. Never mind. I figured it out.
Thanks, Lindsay.
She's like, hey, what?
Hello? Good morning.
The season. Yes, so good.
Good morning, Howard.
I'm looking at this one.
Mike, that's for the hanger figures. I'll get charge personal property tax on it, what's in their hangers, their blades and all that. It's not the airport itself, it's actually the hangers that are on there. So like I pay personal property taxes for all my equipment and all that.
Yeah,
It's the action, but not on the airport, it's on the hangers. That.
And it's like a trailer, you know,
Right, and that's,
somehow the state is gonna make us whole.
Yes.
okay.
And I don't know how it works. That'd be part of waiting for her.
I'm focused. I'm done. I'm ready.
You know, I just brought it up.
Don't say that.
Well, this might get rid of the personal property tax again. Now, we're gonna get made whole somehow, I don't know.
That's my understanding too, is we're gonna get made whole, but I've read through a bunch of it. It actually gets a little confusing. Because in 2024, we'll still get it. In 2025, then it gets taken away because it's taken away in 2024. But yes, my understanding is through,
Towns,
we will be making information share revenue.
I bet you is, let all the trailer parks, I guess, so that's a good shot.
Yeah. Well, that's at the company level, they asked how that will affect the airport, because the private hangars are personal property tax.
That goes to the city, doesn't it?
That goes to the city, so when they asked that question at West Hearings, they're like, how does that work? And, so yeah, I've not heard how we're gonna be made whole, but my understanding is we are. gonna be.
Reading it, it's not right.
It's ridiculous.
So you're searching up. I don't know anybody.
Yes. Oh, this.
Well, yeah.
I mean, if you want, I'm sure they can put out. I've never. They just follow me. How do you look for their constitution? One thing I know.
So this year, we're gonna have a little cloud. Because historically, we need- And now it's hard
A reason. Again, some side. You're also the other side. Yeah, I just had.
Yeah.
This next one is next wire violence. Yeah, 1 o'clock. Yeah. Oh, wait. Oh, yeah. Sorry. And I actually was starting to. And I didn't really. It's entirely done. That's great. I already read that.
They are. Yes.
And there was another one where
It's like over there. I went to the second one.
I knew you were.
Like, we're in the meeting, like.
And then I go back.
I still don't really know what we're doing. To be. But it's still like.
I don't think I get any good. I know, you're very silent prayer. Hello, everyone.
Well, that's what we are.
My dog's got the other two.
Isn't it nice how they train you?
Well, you find out, but usually the leader. We're going to do it. Barely they were.
Yeah.
Last year. My husband and I finally- I feel that's up. When my husband leaves up later.
They're good.
Right. The dog. Yeah, so I need to know I'm further and stuff.
That's it.
All right, it's 9:30, we'll call the county board meeting to order. There'll be a brief moment of silence for our troops, law enforcement officers and emergency responders, followed by a prayer of innovation and a pledge of allegiance. Is there any supervisor who wants to say a prayer this morning? Debbie, okay. Let's stand.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity to be here to serve our county. We ask for your Holy Spirit, Lord, to fill this room and our hearts as we make important decisions. We need your wisdom, and we thank you and praise you for all you've done for us. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, the clerk will call a roll call.
Joe Walter,
Here.
Kelly,
Morning, Tracy.
good morning. Newman. Oh, okay. I'll watch her come in. Schreier,
Here.
Fisher,
Here.
Condado, here. Briggs,
Here.
Ottinger,
Here.
Parrot, here. Winkler,
Good morning, Tracy.
good morning. Jensen,
Here, it is National Safety Bus Awareness Week. Spread the word, be safe around us.
Rio,
Morning, Tracy.
good morning. Sorgel,
Here.
Roach,
Here.
Timmons,
Here, morning.
good morning. Reed,
Good morning.
Dryden,
Absent.
Almakander,
Here.
Schultz,
Here.
Cushing,
Here.
Kowinski,
Here.
19 present, 2 absent.
19 present, 2 absent here, the quorum to conduct business. Announcement from the chair, all supervisors, please use your microphone when speaking. Item 4, accept the minutes of September 26, 2023 meeting. We have a motion and a second. Any corrections or changes? Hearing none, all in favor, signify.
Aye.
Opposed, carry all ayes. Item number 5, human service structure report, Mary White.
Good morning. So in your package, you could have received, my update. So as promised, from the last meeting, I will come and report to you, each month as we meet on the progress that we're making and looking at the structure, and integrating the human service center into a county system. So, if there's any questions, really, the last 3 weeks, we've been, scheduling meetings, meeting with different folks, county board members, the other social services director, the director of the Human Service Center meeting is scheduled for next week. I've been working with Mike Hugel on a proposal to get consultants on board. I think that should go out here in the next day or so. Once I get final approval on that, so things should start moving a little bit more quickly. I will be requesting funding from the Social Services Committee this week to pay for that consultant. So just a lot of meetings scheduled the last 3 weeks, and we'll start getting things rolling here. So hopefully have a more detailed report for you next month. But any questions at all at this point in time?
Question, Supervisor Stephen.
Yeah, Mary, has there been any discussion with the other counties as far as paying for the consultant? If there will be a shared, or how's that?
Yes, informally, I've notified both the directors at the other counties that the Oneida County would be looking at them sharing in this pot. And we would use the percentage of the share of the Human Service Center as that percentage.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we will go on to SWOT analysis report. Allison Burnett, consultant.
Of my volume. I can be louder if needed.
Below.
You want to blow your eardrums out. Good morning, everybody. Tracy, I'm just gonna ask you to please pull up my slide deck if you don't mind. I've never been in a dais that's fully round. It reminds me a little bit of the Death Star, but I kind of love it.
Welcome.
That's right. Thank you so much, Tracy. So I just want to first of all, thank you so much for being here today. It's a real pleasure to be here to present our final report. And it's been a real joy working with and getting to know all of you this summer. And I'm really excited to bring back our final SWOT analysis and report. And for those here for public comment, I'm sorry you have to go after me. I'll try to keep it as interesting as possible. Next slide, please. So I know that the staff present as well as elected officials will remember us from our numerous meetings up here this summer. But just a reminder for those in the audience who are joining us online, I wanted to briefly reintroduce ourselves. I'm Allison Brunette and my partner Karen Harkness is with me as well. We are both former local government professionals. We've worked in both elected and appointed roles in our past and then retired, if you will, into the consulting space. And we're both extremely passionate about working with both local government and not-for-profit organizations with a focus on organizational development, helping teams find efficiencies, particularly in a challenging labor economy, and helping organizations function to their highest and best potential, knowing that the public sector is an investment of private tax dollars. We have a moral responsibility to spend those dollars wisely. Next slide, please. So we will dive into the specifics of the report shortly, but I wanted to just initially remind everyone of outcomes from our months spent working together since this June when we first reached out to you. So we first engaged in soliciting one-on-one feedback, both through anonymous surveys, which were online for both staff as well as for elected officials. And then we were here for 3 days in July conducting one-on-one interviews. Some of those were in person, the rest were over Zoom in the month of July. We then facilitated 2 workshops over at the Sheriff's Department in the month of August, where we worked through our organizational SWOT analysis that was based on what we heard through those surveys and through those interviews. And then we spent the last month of September assembling and generating a final report for you, and we're here today to kind of put a bow on it and make sure that your questions are answered, so you're confident in the report we've given you. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to put a few reminders forward of what our role is as consultants here today, and I'll just read them quickly. So number one, our role as consultants was to listen to you and interpret what we heard. We don't nudge you in a direction. We propose a variety of directions and then gauge your reactions. You know, we understand fully that these are your constituents and your communities that you're representing. So at the end of the day, the buck stops with you. We're just here to facilitate that process so you can confidently form decisions. We make sense of the chaos, if you will, putting together the various perspectives represented across this room and across this county in order to put the organization into functional options. And lastly, we're here to paint a clear picture of what your options are, not to push you toward one option in particular. Next slide, please. So you can't really measure your success if you don't establish benchmarks, right? I mean, I guess you can claim success, but if you didn't actually commit to what success looks like, it really wouldn't be authentic. So.
Okay, yeah, you're fine.
Okay.
I just want to move this so they can actually see what you're reading.
Thank you. How much of a rock star is Tracy? She's got snacks, she's got iced tea. I mean, not only have I never been in a Death Star diet, I've also never had chocolate covered pretzels at 9:30 in the morning. I mean, give it up for Tracy. So like I said, we can't measure success if we don't establish benchmarks, right? So we wanted to establish benchmarks up front, and we tried to be very upfront about this with you. So number one, we wanted to make sure that everyone had a chance to participate and be heard. Number two, we don't sugarcoat what we hear, and we give you a chance to react and to respond with that which we heard. So I think I used the description back in August at our workshops of saying, doing the SWOT analysis is a little bit like ripping a Band-Aid off, because sometimes you hear good things and sometimes you hear bad things, but you know, if you don't take the Band-Aid off, you can't heal. And I really give kudos to this organization and this board for being willing to hear the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it's the only way forward to growth and to enhance your operation. And a reminder that every organization has its blemishes. You know, if you just give me enough time, I can find them. So you're not unique in having challenges, but the only way you work through those is to know what they are and formulate a plan, which is exactly what you did this time. So we provide opportunities for you to solve your problem creatively, and then we provide a clear summary, this report, to guide those decisions. So I don't want to put you on the spot, but I just wanted to take a quick poll of the room. Can we just go back one more slide, Tracy, please? By show of hands, does everyone feel like we met these benchmarks? Because if we didn't, I want to make sure that we have time in our report and time with you this morning, that if you feel we didn't give you a clear summary, if we didn't give you opportunities to participate, if anyone wants to share their grievances, so to speak, I just want to make sure that we feel like as a group that we've met these benchmarks. Feel good? Awesome, good. Next slide, thank you, Tracy. So what does it all boil down to? You know, if you read my, what was?
Was there a summary presented to us?
Yeah, it was 54 pages long.
Emailed last week.
This is an email last week, Billy.
There's something else on the 3 pages.
Not mine.
Oh, wow. Billy, have you not seen this?
No.
Okay, no, I appreciate you sharing that because I do a walkthrough of it and I'm a little bit more
And I voted, I'm sorry, I didn't.
One person at a time, please.
I apologize.
No, Lene was it. You're all right. Okay.
Are we okay? Okay. So when I had initial talk with Oneida County at the beginning of the summer about submitting the proposal, I was really clear about what my core values are as a business owner, and part of why I partnered with Karen on projects is I really feel like our core values align very well. So a few of my values, and this really aligned with the sentences you saw on the last slide about what my benchmarks are: inclusion, honesty, creating ownership and buy-in within communities I serve, and ensuring that elected officials have the tools to make informed decisions. Those are my core values. That's how I add value for my clients. It's not about making money, it's about adding value. Making money is like a nice bonus, you know, my husband's happy when we can pay our bills, but it really is about delivering value. So my goal with having the opportunity, which I'm so grateful for, to work with Oneida County, was to add value to your decision-making process. So I really truly hope that I have honored that by working with you this summer. Next slide, please. So without further ado, I'd like to go through the report, and I will go slowly for Mr. Freed.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna go through each section, but I'm really going to focus on the section at the back end of the report that has the summary and the breakdown of the different management structures. But for those of us who are joining in person or who are perhaps online, if you had not had a chance to see this report, I want to make sure you're familiar with, you know, what the deliverable was for this project. Next slide, please. So pages 4 through 10 of the report, pages 1 through 4 are like, you know, we put your name in there, so you get a little credit, got our logos, got our table of contents. The real meat and potatoes starts on page 4. So pages 4 through 10 are a summary of our process. Now, if you are a part of this process, you're probably like, why is this here? We know, you know, we were alive 2 months ago, we remember this. This is really for people to come in the future. Whether you have new county board members join the board, whether you have new department heads, we want to make sure that people in the future are able to look back at this document and understand how we arrived at these conclusions. So we document this for posterity, so to speak. We strongly recommend, regardless of whether you choose to maintain the county administrative coordinator model or move forward with the county administrator model, that you actually give this report to candidates as a part of the interview process and challenge them to dissect it and do a little bit of homework, because this is going to give them a real lay of the land to see if they are in fact a quality candidate for this role. Next slide, please. From pages 11 through 41, you're going to see a breakdown of the 2 workshops which we facilitated in the month of August. So you'll remember we went through each of the opportunities, weaknesses, and threats outlined in the SWOT analysis and challenged the group to find pros or cons to each idea. And you'll remember we assigned you whether you were a pro or a con group. Nobody likes being the pro group, everybody wants to be the con group. We've got a bunch of devil's advocates up here and I love it. But the reason that we did this, what really relates to the triple Venn diagram you see at the top. As we reminded you, changing your management structure is not a silver bullet. You know, there's 3 ways to fix problems often in organizations. You can enhance, refine, or adopt new processes. You can add technology, which is not always necessarily like computers or phones. It really means tools. You can change the tools people use to do a job, or you can implement new people. You can move people around, you can change roles. But oftentimes the most expensive changes you can make for an organization are the people ones. And knowing how important the culture of fiscal conservatism is in this county, we recognize that. And we wanted to remind you of the other 2 parts of that Venn diagram, because we feel that aligns with your values. Just as I run my business in alignment with my values, I acknowledge and see your values. I want to make sure we give you tools that support and align with your values. Now, Oneida County had a number of threats and weaknesses that would likely be better resolved through processes versus people, which means that even if you shift your management model, you need to assign those process changes and responsibilities to folks within the organization. So you'll recall we went through each pro or con as a group, and then at the second half of our second workshop, we did an exercise where we actually designed our own management models. Next slide, please. So if you attended one or both of our 2 workshops, you might have felt a little bit like this top image, a bit like a lab rat in a maze. Unsure of how you got there, where you're supposed to go next, if you're ever going to get those chocolate covered pretzels you were promised. So in reality, what we were doing with you was a little bit more like that bottom image. If you've ever heard the phrase throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. So if you haven't heard this expression before, you know, if you haven't been on planet Earth until right now, it basically means through a large amount of attempts, guesses, or suggestions, some things stick, some things are the right fit. So we walked you through across those 2 workshops, 25 different scenarios that did not solely relate to your management model that might address organizational opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. And roughly 2/3 of them were ones that you and department heads felt interested in, either expressing a high level of interest in implementing that change or implementing it in the short to midterm future. And about 1/3, you said, nope, this isn't a good fit for us, we are not interested. And that's okay, that's really not a bad batting average for 2 out of 3. So like I said, some ideas were well received, some were neutral, and some were hard nosed. But through that process of trial and error, I kept asking you one thing. Next slide, please. Trust the process. I know some of this stuff seems really crazy. We asked you at the end of each session, like, did you think this added value? Did this feel like a silly waste of your afternoon? Next slide, please. But we knew that we could get you all to those authentic organizational goals if we pushed you outside your comfort zone. We met in a new neutral space, not the Death Star. You worked with people you don't always work with day to day, and we gave you a seemingly endless number of elements to weed through, that we would find ones that were a good fit. Next slide, please. It's a little bit of shameless self-promotion. So I asked you at the end of each session, I gave you some sticky dots to vote, and we had a scale of 1 to 6 of, did you think this workshop was a waste of time, up to, I got a lot out of this. And as you can see, you guys loved session 2 more than session 1, but we didn't have any 1s. And in the second session, we only had 1 3. So as much as you probably thought this was strange, a little bit batty, I was kind of a weirdo that you found out of Green Bay accidentally, that came up to do stuff with you, I do think you liked it. Next slide, please. So let's dive into what those results and feedback were. When we get to page 42, this is the summary, I suppose, if you're looking for a 1-pager. This was a summary of all of the opportunities or solutions we proposed that related directly to those opportunities, weaknesses, and threats. And we really separated them out into 3 options. So it was strongly recommend, may recommend in the future, and not recommended. So you can see 2/3 of that list, the organization resonated with. And the way we cultivated this list, because you might be like, I don't remember taking a quiz where I said yes, no, or maybe. Well, you didn't, we tricked you. So when we did that exercise in the second workshop, where you had to use the big charts of paper and assign roles, assign solutions, you had the option to assign those roles to a person, assign them in the trash and say, nope, we're not doing it, or leave it be. And we tabulated that across all of your sheets. So there were 6 groups, and if it was strongly recommend, you had 4 out of 6 groups advocating, had assigned that somewhere. If it did not recommend, you had at least 3 saying, no, we're not doing it. And if it was may recommend, it was a mix of recommend or not recommend, but overwhelmingly more people were interested. Does that make sense? Next slide, please. So what were these solutions? You know, many of them did not directly relate to your management model. They were related to training, they were related to processes, they were related to ways to improve our teams. And our goals were, you know, a rising boat, oh gosh, I messed up my little metaphor. A rising tide lifts all boats. So if you have a stronger management model, you're gonna have a stronger team. If you have a stronger team, you're gonna have stronger performance. If you have a stronger board, you're gonna have better decision making, right? So that was our goal, was to find the intersection between all of those elements. Next slide, please. On pages 43 through 45, we really got into the meat and potatoes of what the functional difference is between these 2 roles that you asked us to evaluate. There are 3 models of county management in the state of Wisconsin. County executive, which is elected, which the county said, we're really not interested in that this time. That's fine. Narrow down the playing field for us a little bit. The county administrative coordinator model, which has a strong county board chair who's elected, which is your current model. And then lastly, a county administrator model where you have an appointed executive. So you asked us to weigh between the 2. What are the pros and cons, and how would it influence our operations? Consider either. So this section, pages 43 through 45, it leans heavily on statute. This is something we have a mixed level of familiarity on. You might recall in that first survey we sent out in June, we asked you how strongly you felt you understood the difference between the 2. We're about 50-50. We did not have strong consensus across the board. So if you don't read the rest of the report, just read these 3 pages. This really outlines what the difference is, because it is somewhat nuanced. Next slide, please. So if you joined us for the August 22nd workshop, we did, I thought, a really fun exercise where you got to kind of design your own management structure. So we gave you 2 large sheets of paper that had multiple different departments, multiple different roles, solutions. It had how they are constitutionally assigned, so you could not, unfortunately, rewrite the Wisconsin Constitution and change what like Tracy's roles are. You know, some things like, we have a lot of influence, but not that much influence. So we gave you the chance to actually move things around and say, if we change a model, where would responsibilities shift? And with those responsibilities shifting, how do we create more time to implement some of these solutions and opportunities that we feel would benefit Oneida County? And handily for us, so thank you for doing this. It was 50-50 between the 6 groups. 3 were very much in alignment with one another on either side of the aisle, which made it super easy for us to summarize. So thank you in advance for being such agreeable participants. So the first model had the county, we're going to start first with the refined county administrative coordinator model. So groups 1 through 3 advocated for the creation of a refined model of what you already have. The group as a whole, all 6 groups, acknowledged in order to enhance management, there needs to be more FTE dedicated to management, which means regardless of what the role is titled, there needs to be at least 1 more staff person in management. Now, the first model would be to go back to a model that similar to what you used to have, where you separate the administrative coordinator role from the LRES director, which is how it was at one point. The administrative coordinator separation would first and foremost lighten the county board chair's workload by performing performance evaluations for department heads and assisting the finance department with initial budget assembly. Next slide, please. We painted a picture functionally for each model, so you can understand how this would look within the context of an Oneida County organizational chart. Now, I don't know if you have one of these already. I have not seen one for Oneida County, but I love a diagram. It just helps me visually. I'm a visual learner. It helps me understand the flow of things. So this is how you can see the intersection between the public, your constitutional officers, which are in that box in the upper right-hand corner. Those are elected roles, which technically do not report to either an administrative coordinator or to an administrator. They report to the public and they are bound constitutionally to perform certain duties. Their referendum on their performance is their election, not a traditional performance evaluation from management. The multicolored departments on the lower left-hand corner, those report directly to the county board chair, or if you change your management model. Now, it's important to note the difference between managing / coordinating and supervising. Under an administrative coordinator role, the coordinator coordinates and manages, but does not supervise. So they're not their boss, but they need to work together functionally to coordinate and run county operations effectively. Where this does function a little bit differently from how things operate now, is the coordinator acts as sort of a buffer between elected officials and departments. You know, I'm not going to throw anyone under the bus, but we heard from a lot of department heads that some love the political exposure of their role working directly with county board, and others kind of wish there was a little bit of a buffer. Maybe they don't relish the political exposure of their role. They feel like they answer to their entire committee and the county board chair. They have multiple bosses. It's confusing about the chain of command. Really formalizing this role and making it a non-peer, the way the LRES department head Lisa is a peer in the departments right now, by having a separate administrative coordinator role, it creates a little bit of layer of separation so that appointed department heads are coordinated by the administrative coordinator, and the administrative coordinator is the go-to point of contact for both county board members that have questions about department operations and for department heads that are working with the county board. It acts like a sieve, so to speak. Next slide, please. The other half of the groups 4 through 6, opted for shifting to a county administrator model. This would be the first of its kind for Oneida County. The county administrator would manage hiring and firing, which is a large shift from the current balance of powers. They would also assume the role of public information officer in an emergency, a role which is sort of not on paper, but operationally jointly shared between the county board chair and the sheriff. The leadership development training which was a major solution that was proposed in our exercises that participants really resonated with, would be a bigger focus for the LRES department as grievance management and performance evaluations would move to the administrator. Performance evaluations right now, you'll recall, are performed jointly by the county board chair, committee chair, and the LRES department. The role of leadership development, which again, really resonated with participants, was not directly assigned to any individual in the first scenario, it fell to department heads. The county board chair and the administrator model would have a weaker role in terms of organizational management, but would instead have more time and opportunity to develop a pipeline of future county board members and to help to develop mentorship and training materials to strengthen the knowledge of county board members, both new and veteran. Next slide, please. On the scenario number 2 chart, you'll note on both org charts that the constitutional officers remain segmented in their little box because they still report to the public through the public referendum of their election. But it is critical, and that's why we have those little arrows going back and forth, that they work functionally with. Even though they do not report to an administrator or a county administrative coordinator, they have to work with them. They're still colleagues working for the greater good of the county. In this model with the county administrator, we do recommend a shift in departments because there is quite a bit of overlap between human resources and administration. So in this model, we would actually recommend creating a new administration department that would absorb human resources. And this is due to the fact that LRES and administration have more blurred lines in this scenario. You'll recall that the administrator would have chief duties in hiring and firing, as well as performance evaluations. It just makes more functional sense that these are absorbed into the same role. And again, just like with the last model, it's formalizing this buffer or sieve between staff and elected officials, so that elected officials can focus on policy making and not focus on operational concerns. Next slide, please. So pages 50 through 52, they focus on the difference between these candidates. I need to read my own slides, so I'm just gonna move this little thing again. Okay, thank you. So should you hire a separate administrative coordinator, you need someone with a good deal of executive organizational skills. They need to be able to coordinate multiple information streams across your dozens of departments into functional summaries so that the county board can feel well informed across all departments. In talking with county board supervisors, we heard across the board, understandably, supervisors feel the most confident in the happenings of the departments which report to their committees of jurisdiction. There is an information gap where people feel like, I wish I had a little bit more exposure countywide, but I'm not quite sure how to manage that information or create that information. The administrative coordinator would have a leadership and organizational development function in succession planning, mentoring, and strengthening the team of leaders. The administrative coordinator would take some things off the county board chair's plate without the chair relinquishing their strong leadership role. They would aid in hiring and staffing, but would not have complete control. And the goal would not be to supervise or micromanage staff, but to help them to find efficiencies, collaboration, and funding, as well as, when desired, acting as that buffer so that department heads can do their job and not engage in politics or politicking to get things done. So it's really important to note that this is only going to work, either model, if you have buy-in from your department heads. You have extremely competent department heads, but they're used to not having a boss, so to speak. So they're independent, they're competent, they get their work done, they report to their committees of jurisdiction. Due to the nature of how this discussion came about, some department heads felt a little bit blindsided, and they felt like, what's wrong? If there's a problem, why haven't we heard about it? Why are we fixing something that's not broken? So part of why we stress, both Karen and myself, that department heads be involved in this is they need to buy in. If they don't buy in, it's going to feel like a punishment. So in order for it to not feel like a punishment, we need to show department heads how this will benefit them without seeming like you're not doing your job, we're creating a new level of management. So department heads need to feel like this isn't somebody watching over me and finding flaws. It's somebody who's here to support me, protect me, and enable me to do my best work. Next slide, please. Now, the county administrator, this is a big shift culturally for the county. So we highly recommend that should you go with this model, you only consider candidates with local government management experience because it is going to be a big cultural shift. In this model, it will be a new boss for department heads. The county administrative coordinator is coordinating, not managing, whereas an administrator is a supervisor. So you need someone who has the stomach and the experience for team management, because it's not going to be successful overnight. There might be some resistance, and like any change, sometimes it comes with a little bit of pain. This candidate should have strong exposure to human resources because we do recommend this consolidation into a new administration department that includes HR. The leadership development of county board would shift to the county board chair, whereas organizational power and hiring and firing, budget assembly, performance evaluations would all shift to the county administrator. We would recommend as well that you consider professional assistance in recruitment to cast a wide net. So working with a professional recruitment firm. I don't know if you've used these before, but the way these work is they advertise for you. They assist with candidate screening, and oftentimes the way they're paid, they're not paid in full until you have a successful candidate and until that candidate meets a benchmark of 6 months or a year. So it is an investment, but it's an investment in your success that you hire the right individual. Next slide, please. So what's the fiscal reality? I know that, like I said, one of your organizational values, which is commendable, is spending taxpayer dollars wisely. Creating either role will mean the necessary addition of more FTE for the county. The more expensive option, and there's not a right or wrong option, but I just want to be straight up with you. A county administrator's salary, including benefits, would likely exceed $200,000 annually. Many administrators, at least the good ones that have experience, are also going to negotiate contracts that include severance pay. So if it's not a good fit, you're gonna have to pay them to leave. So I just want to be straight up about that. That's what you can expect if you're hiring someone with that professional level of experience. Next slide, please. Now, instead of viewing this as just a drain on the budget, how can you flip your mindset and see this as a gain? What do you gain from this investment rather than saying, oh God, we're sinking a couple $100,000 into salaries and benefits? What you gain through this investment is more holistic insights for county board members on all department happenings, not just the committees you serve on. You'll bring professional management experience, which will bring change management, leadership development, and succession planning to your team. And you will lessen the workload on performance management tasks for the county board chair. Next slide, please. Again, more things that you gain, it's a good investment, we feel. Enhance processes to onboard new county board members and guide their decision-making. Hopefully develop a pipeline of internal talent for those leadership roles when retirements do happen. And community talent that expresses interest in being civically engaged and giving back by running for county board. And greater assurance that things are being executed as efficiently, legally, and fiscally wisely as possible through greater collaboration between departments. This is not unique to Oneida County, but one of the weaknesses we heard was they're siloing. Counties have a multiplicity of departments and responsibilities. They also operate across a large geographic area with offices in different geographic locations. So there could be a stronger process of departments working together to not duplicate decision-making for processes and ensure things are done consistently. Next slide, please. So what it all boils down to is you as the county board need to be clear about what you want this individual to focus their efforts on first. So if and when you choose to hire someone, whatever that title is, you need to be clear about what you want them to do in 30 days, 100 days, 365 days. You as the organization as a whole want trust to be strong between the board and staff, not fractured. You want them to buy into this process and feel like it benefits them. Don't expect a 180-degree turn overnight. It will take time to see results in change management. It can feel like a slog at first because sometimes it feels like it gets worse before it gets better. And you get to determine the strength of the role in either case. Even if you opt for a county administrator role, there is home rule at work here. So you can tighten or loosen the reins to strengthen and empower that role or keep it on a shorter leash, if you will. Next slide, please. So that concludes my presentation, but I'm more than happy to answer any specific questions you might have about the report. If you want some clarity on anything, if you have feedback, I'm more than happy to answer it. And should you think of something later, I know I always have my best ideas, thoughts, come back 20 minutes later. If you think of something later, please don't be shy. You can feel free to reach out to me. So any thoughts, comments, questions, where I can add clarity and add value to your morning?
Anybody?
I have one comment.
Yeah, we could.
What you threw up to us today did not take into account maybe a reduction in county board members. And what are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, this is what you guys thought, not what I think. We did propose a model that reduced the number of county board as one of the solutions in our second workshop. And said, what do you think about this? And overwhelmingly participants didn't like that idea. So we did not include that because the group that attended on August 22nd, 4 out of the 6 groups said we're not interested in that. I can let you know what page that's on. Give me 1 second, please.
Well, it may not be liked because somebody would have to give up their seat, but it might be the best interest of the county.
It might be, but we're here to facilitate how you feel, not tell you what to do. I'm sorry, just bear with me while I figure out what page that's on.
You can follow. Allison, you can
Okay,
follow up with that.
thank you.
later. Any other questions for Allison? Okay, comments? I believe. Nobody?
I just have one question.
Go ahead, Renee.
Every time I go to the doctor, I'm baffled by options. And my last question when I walk out the door is always, depending on the age of the doctor, am I closer to the age of your mother or grandmother? And then what would you recommend to your grandmother in this case? So I know you're not here to recommend anything to us, and I understand that completely. However, you and Karen are the 2 people who have interviewed all of us, seen our blessings and our curses, and know more about us than we do ourselves, because we don't have that perspective on everything. So if I promoted you to board chairperson right now.
Okay, don't get Scott on my face. I don't want all the sugar coming out.
No. It's just, you've seen our strengths and weaknesses. If you were in his position, do you have a leaning towards what and you know us, you know our budgetary habits, you know all of this, you have background that none of us do. Can you kind of picture frame where you would be leaning that would best assist us with our strengths and weaknesses at this moment in time?
Lynette, I feel like this is a little bit of entrapment. But I will tell you, to Jim's question, that answers on page 25. So just to follow up on the question about our discussion about reducing the number of committees or county board seats, that's page 25, 26. So you can see that only 1 of the 6 groups was on board with that. 3 said absolutely not, and 2 did not commit to a decision. So that's why we noted that that was not a recommendation. I'm not going to tell you what to do. I keep saying that, but I will tell you, and I think scenario you can all relate to. If you are having car troubles, do you go to the mechanic and try to fix it, or do you just give up and go buy a new car?
Depends on the age of the car.
So that's a challenge I would put in your shoes in your decision-making capacity. You have a version of the county board administrative coordinator role right now. Do you take it to the mechanic and try to refine that model, or do you throw it out and buy yourself a souped up Ford 150? I don't know, it's up to you. I don't know the budget reins in Oneida County, you do.
From the start, Allison said she was not going to tell us which direction we were gonna go. But she did the interview, she did the meetings, and she gave us the data. And it's up to us to make the choice which direction we wanna go. Steven?
Yeah, I mean, probably the better question to ask is, what would you yourself do if you were in the position of the chair? And or ask the chair what he thinks. I think those two would probably be the questions to ask, not only of yourself, but of the person currently in that role. And then make a decision based on that, because one, you're taking how you feel about it, and then you're taking it from the horse's mouth, so to speak. That to me, should probably be the most relevant aspect of taking what we now know and getting that insight from that person, as well as what you feel your own insight is.
Well, and I would say too, I know that on your agenda, you noted you wanted to make a recommendation today. If folks haven't had enough time to digest this, maybe the right answer is to bring this back next month and give you all more time to digest it and see where you sit on it. I know, some people didn't even see it before today, so maybe the right answer is no decision right now, but chew on it a little. Like my husband always says, Allie, before you buy anything online, wait 7 days. I never listen. The Amazon Prime man, it's like my second husband, but there's sound logic in that. Like, don't make big decisions or online purchases on impulse. Chew on it. You'd be so proud of me for telling you that. She'd be like, no, listen to your own advice.
Any other questions for us?
Yeah, I have.
Rob, go ahead.
Firstly, what I need is to better understand if we're going to enhance the administrative coordinator position and restructure that through process people or whatever, what does that look like? And then if we were to move to a county administrative model, what the current committees of jurisdiction, how does that change? Do you go with an executive committee that's between the county administrator, the executive committee and the board? So I think there's some structural things that I think we still need to look at. And that, I don't know if we submit questions to you or,
Well, I will note to your question, Rob. Sorry, I don't know if you're asking me or not, but I'm gonna answer. Pages 46 through 49 are what outline what that looks like. And again, as noted on pages 25, 26, participants, including the board, were not interested in changing the committee model at this point. They really had a strong sense that as elected supervisors, you need to keep that democratic responsibility to serve the public's wishes as close as possible, which means even though it may seem inefficient to someone with a management background like yourself, Rob, that's the model Oneida County really trusts, to feel like the desires of the townships are met at the county service provision level. So we did not change, excuse me, we did not change the committee structure in either scenario because we are honoring the desires of the county board. Thank you.
and I understand that, and yet change requires looking at things differently. And until you look at, I don't know how the role of the administrative committee would change or LRS would change until you look at other models to say, how does that work? So moving to a different model doesn't mean you lose the committee structure. It may be a combination of committees. And that, but anyway, I just think there's more information to guys that I favor one over the other.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you, Allison.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure getting to know all of you. We really appreciate working with you this summer. Good luck.
All right, we're gonna do public comment and then we'll deliberate on the process here. At this time, we'll have public comment, number 3 minutes per person. Anybody want to make a public comment in the audience? State your name and address.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Gary Litke. I'm town board chairman in Nokomis, and I live on the Point Road West in Nokomis. Speaking primarily on resolution 91-2023 regards to campgrounds. Unfortunately, we went through that in the first part of this year. We've had several meetings. We had a lot of participation from our community, and a lot of their concerns is basically safety. Our roads, traffic, our four-wheeling trails, the water, especially in Nokomis, with it going up and down, get shallow. Who's gonna be out there to help these people, to rescue them? Fires unattended at the campgrounds, burning wild. We are in a high fire rate area in Nokomis. Sheltering for severe storms, such as tornadoes. Is there anything like that in the provisions? The last campground that wanted to come in, no, they did not have that. We are also concerned about strain on our EMS, fire department, and police department. We use Oneida County as a police force. Oneida County officers are spread pretty thin, as we all know, everybody needs more help. We're also concerned about excessive boat traffic on our lake, with wake boats and everything. They disturb the lake bed, which disturbs the lake and the environment of the lake. And invasive species were brought in. We have 2 boat landings on Lake Nokomis, 2 public landings. There's not a whole lot of parking where these people are gonna park their boats in their trailers and cars when they launch it. Right now on County N, you go there on a Saturday or Sunday, it's a jam. It's hard to get in, hard to get out. The other boat landing we have, that's very remote and a lot of people are not aware of it. DNR environmental impact studies, the lakes, the water and the wildlife, has any of those been done or is that going to be processed? They'll need to be put in place when somebody applies for a camp. We also,
You got about 30 seconds left.
okay, I'll try and make it real quick. Where they proposed campsite, there was only 2 piers going out. Supposed to be about 400 campsite campground where the other boat's gonna park. So. That's all I have to say, and I think town of Nokomis is against it. Against campground.
You're stating that you're for the moratorium that's on the.
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Anybody else, public comment? Come on up.
Morning, everyone. Gary Waters, live in the town of Nokomis, the Camp Rice Pine Grove. My wife and I moved up here about 3 years ago, retired up here. I have a long history in Oneida County. We've had property for about 30 years in Oneida County. My grandma used to own a campground and bar on Rainbow Village called Famous Bar and Campground, not there anymore. But so I do have some history up here. So we grew to enjoy this area, God's country, we call it, the beauty, the rural life and everything. And we started coming to the town board, talking Pastor Vance. The rural life in the town of Nokomis, love the area. So we moved from Caston down to Nokomis and built there and retired. Started coming to the town board meetings about 10 months ago. We got into this whole campground thing with Ostrowski Campground, I'm sure you're all aware of that, and some other campground proposals. And we were shocked. We were shocked at the lack of control that the town had, the county had, because of the general zoning. So we basically had 2 options, and that was to rezone the township or come up with a moratorium. The rezoning committee have been volunteering hundreds of hours trying to rezone, submit the proposal for rezoning for the town, which is, it's in the process right now. Our other hope is the moratorium, passing this moratorium to give the townships time to better prepare themselves for the, I don't want to say fight against campgrounds, but to authorize proper development in the area, is not to hurt the townships. So, and the support structure we need, as Gary was saying about fire departments, police departments and safety and whatnot. So we consider the township of Nokomis vulnerable right now because of the general zoning. So it's, the town of Nokomis is part of the family of Oneida County. You know, I know you all represent different townships here. So we're hoping for your support as a part of the family of Oneida County to pass this moratorium to allow townships to better prepare themselves for campgrounds and these big developers that want to come in and maximize their profit. A recent campground that was just approved by the board was a younger couple of roughly 40 acres away. And the board did approve that campground. And they were saying, no, it's gonna be a family operation, the kids enjoy it and whatnot. Whatever I was saying, you got approval on it, and now they have listed for sale. So that was, I think it's 250,000 asking for it. So everything that she was promising is out the window. And I even asked for it at the time, I said, part of the cup, I said, why don't we have a property manager there on site? And she goes, well, there isn't anybody, but my family's gonna be there all the time. I said, well, what if you sell? Oh, we'll never sell. So before the project has even started, it's for sale.
Can you close your comments now?
Okay, so as part of Oneida County, part of the family of Oneida County, I'm really asking for your support for this temporary moratorium. And it is temporary, and that's what we all have to understand. It's just a temporary moratorium. Give the townships time to prepare themselves for the type of thing. All right, thanks for your ear.
Anybody else in the audience, public comment? Anybody else? Okay, we'll move on to item number 7, discussion and recommendations on how to proceed with changes to the administrative structure in Oneida County. Does the supervisors want to study the report and come back and have better understanding? You make questions, I think it would be premature to continue with the discussion at this meeting. And I would expect that if people had questions, they could call me, or Allison would be available to answer questions, or even the county clerk to answer questions on this. So, need a motion to table and bring it up at
You could do a motion to postpone to, the November 24th meeting. I'll make that motion.
I had a motion, is there a second to the motion? Billy,
Scott, just the general.
are you a second?
Second.
Okay, somebody over, okay, all right, go ahead, Billy.
Just a general question for you, just trying to understand what is your goal to come to an actionable decision? I mean, so it comes back next month, what would you hope the result of next month's meeting would be?
When I review it, we have 3 choices: stay as we are, create a administrative coordinator, or an administrator. And that's the pluses and minuses for everybody to figure out what they would want. If I tell you what I want, then I'm trying to guide you. I want to hear what you guys want, and then I can give my comments on it.
But
I think we need a better system than what we have right now.
But the result you'd like to see next month is execute one of those 3 options as
Give
opposed
direct
to.
to move forward on one position or the other. But this will give you time if you have questions. I know that the information just came out with the county board packets. I've seen it for a while, but I think everybody should review it a little bit before we make a decision on it. Okay, the motion and second was to move it to the November meeting. Any further discussion? Clerk will do the roll on the motion.
Kelly,
Aye.
Winkler,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Cushing,
Aye.
Simmons,
Aye.
Rio,
Aye.
Showalter.
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Ottinger,
Aye.
Schreier,
Aye.
Condado. Aye. Sorgo. Aye. Newman. Aye. Roach.
Aye.
Harris. Aye. Almakinder.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Briggs.
Aye.
Kowinski.
Aye.
20 aye, 1 absent.
20 aye, 1 absent, and motion passes. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Motion to approve. Currently a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Briggs,
Aye.
Rio,
Aye.
Harris. Aye. Zorgo.
Aye.
Condado. Aye. Almond.
Aye.
Showalter.
Aye.
Simmons.
Aye.
Linkar.
Aye.
Reed.
Aye.
Fisher.
Aye.
Roach.
Aye.
Ottinger.
Aye.
Kelly.
Aye.
Cushing.
Aye.
Schreier.
Aye.
Schultz.
Aye.
Newman. Jensen.
Aye.
Kowinski.
Aye.
20 ayes, 1 absent.
20 ayes, 1 absent, consent agenda passes. Item number 9, resolution 91-2023, ordinance amendment 07-2023, offered by the supervisor of the Planning Development Committee to amend chapter 9 of the United County Zoning and Shoreline Protection Ordinance, Article 5, section 9.53, campgrounds and recreational vehicle parks. Carl?
Good morning. Oneida County regulates campgrounds to 9.53 in our general zoning ordinance, which has specific provisions as it relates to how you develop campgrounds. Oneida County also regulates campgrounds to what zoning districts those campgrounds are allowed within. We have seen, or not we, the committee has seen an influx of campground type developments, in particular the town of Nokomis. We've also seen some other campgrounds that have, or campground/resorts that have changed hands that are coming back in to get conditional use permits to expand or to modify. Again, the committee was approached, the county was approached by the town of Nokomis and the town of Little Rice due to the fact that there are a lot of parcels of property out there that are now transferring from, I call it paper hands, so to speak, larger parcels into private hands. Those are getting subdivided and now developed. And again, they've seen an influx of the campgrounds. Those two towns are requesting a moratorium for 180 days. So what this ordinance amendment would do is place provisions within the zoning ordinance 9.53 to prohibit the county from issuing any conditional use permit for any campgrounds in any zoning district for a period of 180 days. This would not affect or impact conditional use permits that have already been issued and or any conditional use permits that are in the department. At this time, I don't think there are any. So again, it's a request to have a moratorium. The committee then would be, say this respectfully, cracking the whip on me to research other counties on how they regulate campgrounds, possibly retweak 9.53 and or take a look at what's on the district's campgrounds are allowed. And that's all I have.
Jim?
Just a question, Carl, is 180 days enough time?
I would always like more time, then I would drag my feet, so to speak. Again, if the committee, if we're bogged down in the progress, so to speak, try to get a moratorium, the committee can have extend that moratorium for another 180 days, whatever time frame is needed. We just have to have another ordinance amendment to do that.
Jim, just a question that if we make it 300 and some or whatever, I could picture just dragging out to the end. If he's got 180 days, he's gonna move towards that. If he needs more time, he can come back and ask you to extend the moratorium, but I think it's wise to keep it at the 180 days at this point.
And the way moratoriums work is you can't have perpetual moratoriums because then it becomes prohibition. And that's not legal.
Question, Carl, is there any applications for campgrounds at this point?
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. And if there are, they're in the office and received, we still proceed forward with those applications. They have a vested interest.
Rob, you had a question? Any other questions? Stephen?
Well, so from a side of the research that you'll be doing, what active role will these other communities have in this? So do we seek anything from them or how does that work? Because it seems like they have legitimate concerns, both for public safety and other things. And what role is it for planning and zoning to reach out to those communities? Make sure that we know that those concerns are being addressed in whatever it is, whatever product you're gonna bring before us, hopefully in 180 days.
again, I would probably take it upon myself, at least with Nokomis, Little Rice, just to reach out to them. But as part of the process, we send out proposed ordinance language to the towns. We can do that prior to even holding a public hearing, just to get input. And then when the public hearing occurs on some type of language, all the towns have input. Committee takes that into consideration. They can take it or leave it, some of those comments. But for the most part, not for the most part, we do ship it to all the towns for their comment as part of the process.
Stephen, I think the two gentlemen that get up and talk gave concerns, and I think that's what Carl would concentrate on, is those concerns that they brought up. I also understand that other campgrounds towards the west side of the state that have created problems that we'll probably be checking to see what kind of problems to adjust the ordinance so it can control the campgrounds better. We're not trying to eliminate campgrounds, just there's not many rules for a campground.
Mike, just to further your comment, there's been a lot of feedback prior to this, getting it to where we are today. And everybody gave this and that. Mike.
So I just want to say, campgrounds, I like what somebody just said, we're not trying to eliminate them. Because like that gentleman, Mr. Waters, his family had a campground, campgrounds are awesome. Here's what I see happening. We're not the same America, we're not the same Wisconsin we were when he was growing up. So as much as I like campgrounds, and I'm all in support of campgrounds, I also used to go to Packer games when I was a kid. And a common guy wearing an orange jacket could sit in a Lambeau Field, and that's why they wore orange. That was the best jacket they had. What I'm getting at is the blue collar, the common guy could take his kids to a Packer game. Today, that's not the case. It's $200-300 just to take your kid to a game. It's a shame. There's campgrounds in Eagle River. You used to be able to come up from Milwaukee with your family and take your kids on that chain of lakes, the world's largest chain of lakes, for almost nothing. They were all bought out and put condos there now. Only the elite live there. I'm all for campgrounds. I live on a lake. I would encourage campgrounds. But I also understand the rules. There are problems because we're a different America, we're different Wisconsin, we're different Illinois. So we got to fix that problem. 180 days. I hope that we solve these problems.
Any other comment? Chris?
Just one of the other things that, as Carl mentioned, we have the paper mill land, and what's happening over by us in Nokomis is people are buying this land, just putting it down to like 10 acres or 20 acres from 80 or 120. Then what they're doing is they're putting like 6-7 campers. Now, they're not getting camping permits as far as I know, Carl, correct me if I'm wrong. But also, I don't know if they're family members, but that's where they can't stay at a campground, so they're just building their own campground. I don't know if they have water, a lot of them don't have water. Carl was just Todd just had to issue like 3 or 4 letters regarding people that had campers with no water, no septic. I don't know what they're doing with it, if they're just dumping it on the ground, if they're, it's a concern, and they're there all the time. They're there for a year. We had somebody at Paul Wright selling food and beer out there. That's what I would call it. It was like 5 acres in a pine plantation. They had people on the road, they had a porta potty parked right next to the blacktop. If you stepped out of the door, you're on the blacktop.
So I think these are all questions. We're aware of all of this stuff. It depends which zoning district you're in. If you want more control, your town should rezone the different zoning districts. If you want more control, what people do, there is rules on sanitary for campers and that too, but I think that the issue today is the moratorium, not so much the detail of the campgrounds. Any other discussion, questions? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Winkler,
Aye.
Rio,
Aye.
Reed,
Aye.
Newman,
Aye.
Harris, aye, Fisher,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Dorval,
Aye.
Roche,
Aye.
Condado, aye, Ottinger.
Aye.
Almakinder.
Aye.
Kelly,
Aye.
Showalter,
Aye.
Cushing,
Aye.
Briggs,
Aye.
Timmons,
Aye.
Schreier,
Aye.
Schultz,
Aye.
Halowinski,
Aye.
20 aye, 1 absent.
20 aye, 1 absent.
Thank you, man.
Resolution 91, 2023. The next meeting will be held on November 15, 2023 at 9:30, and we'll adjourn the meeting at this time. Tracy,
Yeah. If anybody else wants to. I have one extra one. And then I will, I'll print more right now. I'll get there on your way.
Let's see your slide.
It's a good thing you're.
Supervisor, if anyone wants a copy of the slide report requested from the clerk, she'll provide one for you. Everybody hear it? Request a copy from the clerk.